Welcome to our video series on the startup journey. We all admire the success of startups and we all know about the success of startups, but a lot of hard work and sacrifice goes into it. A lot of founders put in a lot of hours to contribute to the success. This is especially true for the startups that work with the low and the moderate income segments. Through our series, we want to bring the personal stories, motivations, and different challenges of these founders and the startups to you. These founders have received support from the Financial Inclusion Lab and CIECO, hosted by the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. You can know more about the Financial Inclusion Lab and get to know more about these startups by clicking on the link in the description box. Let's start with your name and the name of the startup.
Yeah, thanks. So this is Yashraj, and me with my team, we are building GoGullak.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit about GoGullak?
Yes. So GoGullak is a finance management platform which lets people arrange money as easily as they arrange files on their computer.
Okay.
So this helps them keep track of everything that is happening around their finances on a digital platform that they can access anytime.
Okay. Can you elaborate a bit more? How can I as a user do it?
Yeah. So to do that, it's very easy. Coming on our platform, we let users customize their bank account. So we let them carve out sections of their bank accounts which they think that the need will arise in future, or basically use budgeting on top of their accounts itself, not write it down somewhere else. So it comes into action while they are out buying something.
Okay. And who are your customer segments? Like who are typically your users who use the solution?
So we are targeting right now. We are targeting people who earn anywhere between 25 to 50,000. But to put them into perspective, we are more interested into the LMI segment of India because there are very few tools that cater to them, and that is and 90% of that market is still does not have any sort of personal finance management application.
Okay. So before we get into more about the startup, we would like to know a little bit about you. So what were you doing before you started this journey?
So I completed my bachelor's of engineering from a college in university in Bangalore, and since it was engineering, my whole mind was primed to solve problems and to seek problems out in any systems that were there. And I've been trying out various other products across multiple sectors, and this caught my attention because this was resonating with me. So this here we are at.
Okay, all right, that's fascinating. Okay. So, what exactly inspired you, or what do you think was your, motivation to get started on this entire entrepreneurial journey?
Okay, so I would say that it was the moment very initially in my life when I asked myself this question that what am I going to be, and there were no fields that really carved out what my aspirations were. So over time, I let things be. I learned a lot across various segments, not restricting myself to one. And later on, I found that this world does not have a singular set of rules that entirety of the fabric of reality is following. We can create our own rules, and we can go in that direction. So that was the closest thing for being an entrepreneur.
Okay, and if you had to break down, you said that since you're an engineer, you are focused on problem solving. Can you talk a little bit about the problems that you sort of, foresee which led to setting up GoGullak?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. Actually, when we were starting out, there were multiple phases of evolution in the path that we followed towards GoGullak. But the one thing that remained constant across the journey was our goal that this is something that we need. This is something that we were building for ourselves. And when we showed this to the world, we found that there were a lot of people like us who really needed it as well. So this resonated with us that, okay, now we have got something which we have to build and put efforts towards, so that many people can know where exactly their money is going and how much across the board they have left.
Okay, so just to like dig a little deeper, do you think tracking the expenses or money management as a whole, what the challenges do you see here? Like, do you have any experiences from your interactions with customers, and where do you see the gap lies currently?
Yes, so the gap is there are multiple levels to the entire problem, but the key instance where we figured out that there is a gap, there is a big enough gap in the market, is when we saw this notion that close to 10,000 people that came on the platform were using either their calendars or their diaries for maintaining whatever records that they had to maintain for their money, be it their next EMI that is upcoming, or insurance premium that they're expecting, or anything at all across the board. So all their planning was separated from their actionable tools. So this gap was too wide apart, like one is completely digital and one is physical. So what we created was combining both of them together, that make your plans here, and while the plans are and made, you can act upon them on the same platform without leaving anything. So kind of like creating a single source of truth for finance.
Right, okay, that sounds amazing. So, okay, so now going back to your journey as an entrepreneur, where exactly, or what was that point which made you realize that, I should be an entrepreneur, or, this is the path ahead for me? Like, do you see any inflection point in your, entire journey so far that made you realize that, okay, this is the factor, or this is the point where that realization came?
Yes, so I would say that point would be pretty early in my life, probably in my school days, when me with a couple of friends, we created a circuit board which was actually switching on and off lights. And when we did that, it was just a fun project for us then, but it just so happened that we were able to create like a barely working model of that, and create a few pieces and sell it to a few people. So at that point, I got to know that all the rules that, again, coming back to that same thing, that all the rules that we see, there are always all the rules can be molded in a manner that you solve a problem for anyone that nobody else has seen, or either nobody else is catering to them. So I saw that opportunity, took that leap, and I found that yes, this could be a good path for me.
Okay, and how has the journey been so far?
So I would say it has not been too pleasant, because again there are difficulties along the way, but the only thing that I figured out was that there is meaning to this suffering. Right. So whatever suffering that we go through, suffering would be anywhere, whatever we do, but in this particular path there is meaning, a higher meaning that holds us accountable, not just towards the product that we are building, but also for the people that we are building it for. So we tend to learn to put things into perspective, that what if I am in their shoes, how would I react, or how would I take this product in, how would I interact? So this entire journey I kind of figured out along the way. Okay. So overall, I don't think there is anything that could have gone better.
Okay, so you mentioned that the journey has been slightly challenging and there have been ups and downs, right? So if we look at it from a personal sort of a perspective, or from your personal life, do you think being an entrepreneur or this journey has impacted your personal life? And had you, did you have to make any adjustments to your life in order to accommodate the whole entrepreneurial journey?
I would say definitely. I mean, starting out from an Orthodox Indian family, it always had this, I always had this notion that, okay, I have to get a job, study, get a job, and follow the traditional routes that many in society say it's good. But over time I got to, like that burden itself was like a wall in my brain that I had to break over time, that no, taking risk does not mean always failing. There right. is reward at the other end of the tunnel. So I mean, my thinking changed. That's the biggest thing that I figured across the journey, that The way I thought, my mindset, it completely shifted.
Okay, all right. And in your entire journey, so there would be many pillars of support, right? So, for example, your team would be one. There would be external sort of ecosystem players or partners that sort of support you in the entire journey. So, just wanted to know your perspective on, how do you think the team has sort of helped you in this journey, and how do you manage to build and sort of nurture the team that you're working with?
So that brings this notion in my head that there is much greater responsibility in what I and many people in my team do. That we have to take extreme ownership. So the concept of taking extreme ownership got inculcated in the entirety of the team. But since me and the other co-founders started this, we tend to have that extreme ownership sort of responsibility towards every member that is there in our company. So I mean, taking it into account, teamwork into account, but we had that notion that whatever happens, we have to take responsibility for the jobs that they are doing here, the products that they are creating. We have to see that the environment and everything else is conducive and for the betterment. So that changed a bit.
Okay, and how do you ensure that all of these are in place? Like, do you sort of have some checks and balances in place to ensure that the team is on the right track?
Yes, so since we are at an early stage, and I and the other co-founders are ardent believers of not having a hierarchical structure in the organization. So we tend to always interact with each other without any salutations involved anywhere. We actually come out with complete honesty. So complete honesty is one of the policies that we see that is followed across the board. Whatever a person feels, whatever a teammate feels, they are free to discuss it with anyone else, anyone at all, no matter who they are. So this is one of the good things that we thought that we would want to work in that sort of organization. So we built that for us.
Okay, that's great to hear. Okay, so coming back to my previous question on the support pillars, obviously the team is one, but there are also a lot of external sort of mentors and external support that you receive during the entire journey, right? So, like, I would like to know your sort of experience on working with accelerator programs, and especially being a part of the Financial Inclusion Lab. What has been your experience, and what role do you think these programs play in your journey?
I would say that the biggest impact was again in the process that I used to think about problems. For me, problems were like, okay, I have a problem, now I have to build a solution for this, and that was it. What next? How to do the business? I mean, the entire team at FI Lab taught us that, okay, GTM is something and we have to create a target audience, and then we have to how to target them. There are multiple layers to that. So all these intricacies became kind of more difficult than the technology itself, because we were from engineering background, and I don't see a path, an easy path at least. If I did not take this program in, I see that there would have been a few more years of struggle, which so essentially MSc and the folks here FI Lab, the entirety of the process was cut short for us, and we got the final end result, the end learning very easily in that regard. So I think it was invaluable.
Okay, all right. And now that you've been a part of a program like this, and you've already worked towards shaping up a solution, what do you think some of your biggest lessons are or learnings are from your journey so far?
So essentially, it's I would say there are two of them that comes to mind. One of them is from the perspective of the user, that there are a couple of users that we interact with on a regular basis, and we have put our phone numbers at this point of time in our product, so they keep calling us. We get to know about their lives, how they are leading it, and how this application is providing an impact over on top of that. So that feeling is actually something that I would say was one of the big aha moments for us that things are working. And as for another thing, I would say it's about again that the fabric of reality that we live in right now can easily be changed according to a need that is arising. And not all needs are captured, but the best ones of course become visible sometimes. So we tend to develop that sort of vision with this entire journey, that how to understand or know what might work. So I think that was one of the biggest lessons that we learned.
So you're saying customer centricity, or the whole aspect of putting customers
First,
first is a bigger learning for you.
yes, that's one of the biggest learnings, and understanding things from their perspective.
Right.
That was the most, I would say, most important thing that we learned in this journey.
Okay, and if you had to like go back and change something in your journey, would you want to change something?
Yes, definitely. I mean, with the current knowledge, I believe most of the steps, that actions that we took, decisions that we took, were incorrect.
Okay.
I now realize that, because now I have better understanding and perspective. I met good people at both the programs, so that changed the way I think. So I would say yes, most of the decisions were wrong, and but we are moving ahead. We now know, and we are better equipped on how to tackle the future.
Right. So, I mean, this was also a question that I had, that how do you keep yourself going? You know, there are challenges, there are problems that come in, but day in and day out, how do you find the motivation to get going every day?
So that comes back to this reality, that reality check for me, that uh, when I was thinking about what I want to do with my life, I realized that okay, none of the fit paths are the right paths for me. So so I experimented a lot, and out of all the experimentations, one feeling was developed that the problems that we see in the society or in market, anywhere at all, many a times we have to develop that feeling that okay, a solution is coming to us, and when we do that, we tend to get closer to that solution. So this entire process, I never get, my mind never gets out of it. So
Okay.
the other thing, that this might be something difficult or challenging, I don't feel that, because that's where every waking hour is spent. So the other things lose their relevance, or I mean, are not put into perspective with this.
Okay, and given that there are three people, like three of you, who are at the center of this whole thing, how do you sort of, keep others in check, or keep each other sort of motivated or inspired between
So
the three of you?
that's the key question. We are still learning about it.
Okay.
I wouldn't say we have figured it out, but one thing after work hours, giving each other space of and letting people do what they want, at least with a third of their time, they should be spending it on things that they love or they think are right, and about the rest of the time should go as the team had decided. So that was one of the solutions we came up with, but again, I mean, it's a process, ongoing process
Right.
for us.
Okay. So, I mean, bringing us to the last leg of this whole video, we want to know that you've taken some steps ahead onto this whole journey. Now, if you had to give a piece of advice, or give out some golden advice to other entrepreneurs, people who may be starting out, maybe budding entrepreneurs, or are looking for some advice from people who already done it. What do you think would be one or two pieces of advice that you could give them?
So one of the important ones would be to, whatever you are doing, validate it fast. Don't spend time in validation. I mean, there are multiple ideas that comes to mind, and the more time you spend, the more you will realize that there is more to add.
Right.
And the more you add, you are falling into that same loop, and it will never. I mean, it acts like a black hole. It will consume all the efforts and time, and the end product won't be good. So execute fast as possible. Build and launch fast. And second thing is, again, around this, that whatever you are building, keep customers and the folks outside be always engaged with it. No matter if it is launched or not, there should be a lot of people involved in the entire journey that can give you multiple perspective onto that particular product or the problem that you are trying to solve.
Right.
Because internally we tend to over romanticize things that we are solving, and that usually leads to a failure of a product. That's what we have learned after two of our products did not go as planned.
Okay. All right. So you're saying validating it and getting it validated from not only the internal team but outsiders as well.
Outsiders, and involving the outsiders into the journey of building
Right.
that product. So that's one of the key things that comes to
Okay.
mind when it comes to delivering it to the young ones.
Okay. All right. That's great. It was good to, be a part of your journey. And that's the end of our segment here. But thanks a lot for your time, and we had a great time having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
MSc from the FI Lab, MSc provided us with a lot of learning. Most importantly, the ones that played key role in the entire journey was around shifting our mindset from engineering a product to actually adding the human element to the product. So that human element came in forms of not just segregating what sort of audience are we targeting, what's the user, the cohort analysis, and multiple different layers we solved over time, but also the larger picture of what kind of emotions would the product bring out from a person. And that came out after MSc folks and our team worked together on field with multiple people, testing the product out, seeing whether even the slightest of changes in the product is bringing out what sort of emotion, will it be relevant to the company. And that was one of the key factors which I think we couldn't have done without MSc. And second thing is around the GTM that we prepared, that what sort of go-to-market strategy would be relevant for a personal finance brand which is trying to change the behavior of a person. And that's one of the most difficult things to do in consumer markets. And the sort of insights that we were able to get working together were phenomenal. We now think we are better positioned to not only solve that problem, but also to bring out certain aspects of it which we never thought of. And that came with this collaboration. And finally, I see MSc folks as friends whom I can call at any time. They are very welcoming in that perspective that have a problem, we are all ears. So I would say I am lucky, me and the team are lucky to have been working as a team together with MSc and FI Lab.